Welcome to Rich Planet TV. I'm Richard D. Hall. Now today I will be speaking again with political campaigner, investigator, former social worker and solicitor Tony Bennett. Welcome back, Tony.
Good morning.
Now then, one of your campaigns is to try to prevent new measures in UK education where it is being proposed that children as young as 8 years old are to be taught Darwinian evolution as fact. Now you're vehemently opposed to this policy. Can you explain why that is, Tony?
Many years ago I became a Christian, and when I say became a Christian, that involves accepting the Bible as the Word of God and Jesus Christ as God, exactly as explained in the Bible. And it follows from that belief that the Christian accepts the account of creation given in Genesis. And both the Bible and science are in accord in explaining what we know about the origin of the universe and the way we were created and the way the animal and plant kingdoms were created and so on. Now, it is a fact that despite the claims that evolution is a settled fact, and despite its promotion, a very considerable number of people doubt whether the theory of evolution is true. Now, I wrote to the Department of Education about this new policy, which I'll come to in a bit more detail.
Yes,
but
yeah.
If I can just refer to my letter.
Yes, yeah. So this is a letter that you've written to Michael Gove,
Yeah.
the Education Secretary.
I wrote this letter on the 15th of April 2013, when I discovered that the new policy of the Conservative Liberal Coalition was to require 8-year-olds to believe evolution. And what the new curriculum requires is that pupils should be taught to recognise that living things have changed over time, and that fossils provide information about living things that inhabited the Earth millions of years ago. Now, I want to pull that statement apart in a moment, but by way of background, I, in my letter, quote a BBC News report dated the 26th of January 2006, and the relevant part says, "Just under half of Britons accept the theory of evolution as the best description for the development of life. Furthermore, more than 40% of those questioned believe that creationism or intelligent design should be taught in school science lessons." Now, people viewing this film, this interview, might be of the view that evolution is a settled fact, that we have evolved over millions of years, Big Bang 13.7 billion years ago, and all this kind of thing. But as is quite clearly revealed in this survey and others, there's a great many people who don't, and who've got an open mind on the issue. And the issue basically is whether children should be required to accept as fact a theory that is disputed by so many people.
Right.
Where we're dealing with scientific facts, like for example gravity, or how far away the sun is from the Earth, and all this kind of thing, scientific facts which can be proved, no problem with that. But where it comes to children being forced to accept a belief, which is what I say evolution is a belief and not a fact, then surely children should be allowed to make up their own minds. If you're going to introduce things like evolution, fossils, the rocks, that kind of thing, let's hear both sides of the argument, not just be taught you must believe evolution.
So in terms of the, let's just say the age of humanity, because I think, well, they say that mitochondrial DNA studies say that it's between maybe 200 and 250,000 years old, the human genome, if you like.
Right.
Do you dispute that, Tony? Or?
Well, I know exactly what you're referring to, and the evidence from mitochondrial DNA investigations deals with the alleged origin of the first human female, in particular, from whom we're descended. And I think we can agree on this, that the evidence from mitochondrial DNA says that we're all descended from one human being at some time in the past. Now, various dates for this In fact, as you know, she's called mitochondrial Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this woman from whom we're all descended, sometime in the past. Now, how far in the past was it?
Mm.
Whether it was, some people say 250,000 years, 200,000 years, 100,000 years ago, it all depends on the rate of mutations, which is what they study. The mitochondrial Eve theory depends on studying the rate of mutations and how quickly they've happened. And as time goes on, of course, there are more and more mutations.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer to your question depends on assumptions made about the rate at which mutations have happened.
Right.
This is my best understanding of a somewhat technical subject. But if you slightly change the assumptions about the rate at which mutations have occurred over the generations, then you can quite easily arrive at a date for mitochondrial Eve of between 5 and 10,000 years ago, rather than 200,000 years ago or 100,000 years ago.
So would you apply the same to carbon dating as well? Because if we,
Yeah.
I think there's probably, science would allege that there's actual bones, not fossils, which are maybe older than that, that have been carbon dated.
Okay, let's attack the whole subject of what's called radiometric and radiocarbon dating. Two types of dating methods, first of all. Radiometric dating, which is the presence of minerals and chemicals of one kind or another. So you've got things like the potassium argon method of dating,
Right.
the rubidium strontium, and it's all about the rate at which there is radioactive decay. The same principle applies with radiocarbon dating, but you're dealing with carbon there rather than other minerals and chemicals. You're dealing with carbon. Now, what I would say to you is that to a considerable extent, radiocarbon dating is fairly accurate, and you can look at that by historically dating certain pieces of wood, for example, typically, and you can use radiocarbon data, measure how much of the parent and daughter radiocarbon element there is, and you can match that with historically known data. And there is quite a good fit between the radiocarbon dates and historically proven dates. Now, the further back you go in time with that, the more potential for error there is. And if we go back 5,000 years or more, the amount of the parent element left in the bones or the wood that you're testing is very small, a kind of trace element. What I would say to you is that by and large, radiocarbon dating is a reasonably accurate method of dating for the past 5,000 years. But when you go back beyond that, you're dealing with such infinitesimal small trace elements of the radioactive parent element that those data are unreliable.
Right. Okay.
If we go to the radiometric dating, all these potassium argon, rubidium strontium, the whole alleged science of radiometric dating is so shot full with assumptions, inconsistent data, blatant contradictions, that you can't rely on it. So it's not a scientific method. It's
Okay, well, if we look at other species other than Homo sapien then, and say, well, some of them show, or science will allege that they are millions of years old. Do you dispute that or not?
Yeah, very, very much so, because quite apart from the Bible telling us, as we believe, the complete history of the universe in outline form, let me make it clear that we believe that Genesis 1 is a strictly accurate, literal account of how the origin of the universe and the earth, man and the animals. That account is a valid scientific account of what happened during the 6 days of creation. It's what we firmly believe, and my beliefs are shared by millions of Christians in all countries around the world. In terms of the millions of years old, what we say is all claims for an age of the earth older than, say, 6,000 odd years are based on a series of unprovable assumptions.
So you would include not only life as being that age, but the Earth itself then?
Yeah. The Earth itself, the whole universe, created about 6,000 years ago.
Right, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I think, what about this astronomy and the study of galaxies and people extrapolating the movement of galaxies back millions and even billions of years?
Redshift data and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have to concede that that's not the easiest to explain, but I'm going to leave you with one thought here, and that is that, well, two thoughts I think. First of all, the use of redshift data to date the distance of stars away from us and the length of time in light years and so on. There are major problems with the redshift data. Now, I can't take you in detail to what precisely those problems are, but if you go to any debate on redshift data, it's quite clear that some of the assumptions and findings that have been under serious question by secular scientists.
Yeah.
The other main thought I would leave with you is that we assume that the speed of light has always been the same from the beginning of time. It's assumed that it's the speed of light is a constant at 186,000 miles per second, or what is it, 293,000 kilometers per second. But that may be an assumption, Richard. That may not be true. Now, if in fact the speed of light has been deteriorating since the moment of creation, which we say was 6,000 years ago, that would knock out all kinds of calculation about distance and time and galaxies having been created millions of years ago and so on.